Hi, this is Carrie Hummingbird, and this is Soul Nectar show that talks about all things essence, that which is bigger than us, the undescribable, that which is the unknowable. And how do we do that? We talk about it by talking about our stories, because that's the best way to get at these deeper meanings and vibrations that we want to share. So I'm really excited today to introduce you to Paula Vail. She is a Reiki practitioner for over 10 years. She's very passionate about wonderful healing power of Reiki, and she is a master teacher. She's Holy Fire Reiki, the host of For the Love of Reiki on VoiceAmerica Internet Radio, and the host of Why I Am So Happy on BBS Radio Network. And she has all of her training has to do with Reiki and teaching about the power of finding your joy through energy. And I love it because there's this wonderful picture of her on her website in Machu Picchu, which you guys know I love Peru. It's my favorite place on earth. Pretty much if I could just live there, that'd be perfect. Maybe one day. So Paula.
Yes. And thank you for having me. I'm so grateful. I'm just so excited. This is going to be the fun show.
This is the fun show. Yeah, I always have the fun show. So tell me a story about your connection to essence, your discovery of yourself in the bigger way, in the soul place.
Well, my whole life I've been very grateful. I've had a really grateful heart. I was a preemie baby, 2 pounds, wasn't supposed to survive the night, and I did. So I've always felt I was meant to be here, and realized I had a server's heart, loved my restaurant years, and I think where things really opened up for me was the beginning of, I always had that strong connection and that strong gratitude, and always believed that happiness is a choice. We all have challenges, but, it's our choice whether we're going to be happy or not. And I think what really opened me up was beginning my Reiki journey and pulling my shamanism journey into it. And, all of that, it's just opened up this big box that just multiplied everything. It really did.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The energy when you finally realize who you are, in truth, and you can. I don't know. For me, I'm more feeling, so I don't know how it manifests for you. But tell us a story about your early, realizations through the healing process.
Gosh, well, when I started with the Reiki, what I really noticed, was not just being able to offer it to others. I actually began my Reiki journey for love of a pet, my dear Shotzy dog, the picture behind me. She's not with me any longer, but she's the reason I began it. But what I really noticed when, starting to dive into that and opening up that energy was, our vibration level. Oh my gosh. And then it's like this flood. You open the gates and the river of manifestation and intuition just flows, and it's exciting. It is so exciting. So that's kind of when I really took a big jump up, and it's been going up the stairs ever since.
Yeah, that is great. Well, I'm so intrigued by the fact that you started off as a little tiny preemie baby, and the determination that your little soul must have had to get going. It is.
I mean, my dad's always said my head was the size of a lemon. They pretty much, they brought a priest in, give her last rites, nothing we can do, and my dad said, no, I do not accept this, and put me in an ambulance and took me up to Seattle to the Children's Hospital, and they saved me. Yeah. So
how did you find your path to Reiki And how did that lead you to Peru? I'm really curious about that part.
Oh, well, you know, when you open that door to Reiki and you start feeling and everything just opens up, you get excited. I'm big on research, so I did a lot of research on Usui. Usui Reiki is what I do and teach. And so I did a lot of research, and some say he was a shaman. And so I got more intrigued with that. And so I found an amazing shaman teacher, and that of course triggered me wanting to go to Peru. So I've studied with shaman, I've studied with an amazing medicine man, and then when I was in Peru, it was so fun. My favorite place in Peru, I'm not sure if you happen to stay there, the Sacred Valley.
Yes.
If you went there, I loved the Sacred Valley. And the woman that owned the resort, she was from Africa. And she had this 13-acre resort where we stayed, and she had never received Reiki. So offering her Reiki, and she's doing all this fun stuff for us, sharing her books. And she had a good friend, she knows, way up in the, literally walked down from the mountains to have a personal session with each of us. And he was just fantastic. But, you know, what's so fun is when you learn the shamanism teaching, oh my gosh, it's really, especially I remember one day a journey where we went beyond death. And it's like after that day, you see through new eyes. I said that day, I see through new eyes. It's so amazing. And then what's so fun, what it excites me with pulling the shamanism in with Reiki is here you have the Reiki, the basic Reiki teachings, what it is. And it's kind of like Reiki soup. You have this and you can add shamanism, crystals, oils. But with the shamanism, one of my most favorite things is, you know, to put out there and ask messages from source and then take a walk and see what animals come to you, what different messages come. I just love all that about shamanism. I still am doing things and doing trainings, and I just don't want to ever quit expanding.
Yeah, you know, I'm a big fan of shamanism, and people actually have a lot of misunderstandings about what it is, which I think is really interesting. Because for me, I stumbled into this path of spirituality simply because I didn't have any religious training. My mom had grown up in Midwest Texas, Southern Baptist, and just had a lot of, you know, kind of in the 60s when all the problems were happening with civil rights and things like that. And there was a lot of conflicts in her mind that she just said, you know what, I can't do this. I can't practice this faith. So she kind of didn't give me any religious training. And for me, what I noticed was that I always felt better outside. Like I really liked being outdoors. And I realized pretty early on that if I was around people, then I would, you know, then there was generally problems. You know, I don't know, like people could be good and happy, or they could be really unhappy, you know? And it was complicated with people. But if you were out in nature, it wasn't complicated at all. It was really easy. And I think that's what led me into this path, because I first became a painter because I like to paint the outdoors. And then that just is so natural. When I met my first shamanic healer, it was like, it made perfect sense to me to blend spirituality with nature. Like it just made sense. But I think people have different ideas about what it is. And it's really just, for me, it's just, like you said, like learning about the energies in nature, like learning about animals and how to communicate and open to receive guidance from animal energies, or from plants, or even rocks. Like the Karo shamans in Peru, they use rocks for their spiritual connection. That's what's in their mesa, is rocks.
Yeah. And isn't that awesome? And I love that you talk about nature, because really, yeah, doesn't the shamanism just really open our eyes to how, you know, we are so a part of that. we are so connected to nature and the animals, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah, and we can, and I also like the journey part that you mentioned, because that is the subconscious exploration.
Yes.
I spent about 25 years doing the prescribed method for mental health, which was psychotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a lot of information from my mind to digest, but I didn't really shifting things using that paradigm felt like mud on my shoes, like I'm trying to move forward and I'm like my picking up my feet is so heavy. But the subconscious exploration I learned in shamanism, like it's like Reiki. It's more the subtleness. It's the energy,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yes.
imagination.
And yeah, speaking of the rocks, something that just amazed me so much was, do you remember how, they build walls and different things, these big, huge stones, and they just pieced them together. And they'd have like a little, I remember one cave we went down into that was just amazing. And there was a little hole here. Well, in that hole, right at, winter solstice, the moon would shine in. I mean, it was so amazing, everything they did and created.
Because
It's just mind-blowing.
they understood like how the sun would travel around. They charted it. They charted how the sun would travel around the planet and exactly the moment that it would come back in a certain spot. And then they knew how to just create a form right there, and then maybe there'd be a serpent, or maybe there'd be some other shadow that appears at this certain time of day, or the light just goes right in the window at the perfect time. That's the kind of stuff they just understood. They understood their world that they lived in.
And, everything they did, so powerful, yet so simple. My shaman name, by the way, is Shantara.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's my shaman name.
Oh,
But yeah,
mine's
I just
Hummingbird.
fell in love with it. Oh, I love it. And it goes so well with Reiki and everything we do. But, once you open up and connect with the nature and the animals, it really changes your vision. It really does.
So what are some of the key changes that you notice within your perception from
Oh,
shamanism?
um, I get feathers all the time. I get feathers, different animals. I'm always open to messages that way. And then I'm very into the angels. I'm very tied to the angels. I love that. But, with the shamanism, it was like so much connection and opening and understanding that we're connected to the earth, the animals. And then also that ability to just realize this is just our physical vehicle. It's just our physical vehicle. We are, our soul, our, soul planner who's with us in every lifetime. I call him the soul planner. I have a fun little meditation journey I do with students where, we do some really fun stuff and we go meet our soul planner. But all of that, I really, I kind of believed it and felt it, but nothing like how I did after experiencing all the shamanism. It just really opens you up to that. You go beyond death. Yeah. That was powerful for me.
What's really interesting to me is how the imagination is such an important part of the journey when you open to a path like shamanism and even Reiki, because you're imagining the energy flowing in a certain way. Your imagination is part of the process. I love that. I love the fact that it's real, and I love the fact that it took me a while to realize that everything that was happening in my imagination was real in a completely different way than I was perceiving the physical world. It's a powerful realization when you're like, wow, like I just imagined this, or I just got this message. And in some really profound way, it's totally true.
Mm-hmm. And I have to ask you, when you were in Peru, do you eat the coca leaves and drink the coca tea?
Well, absolutely, because it helps with the altitude.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I of course, when I in any country, I just want to, experience what they do and what they eat and that. So I was, we were going on different things, and doing the coca leaf ceremonies. But in our hotels, they always had coca tea. So I'm drinking coca tea all day long, and then I wasn't sleeping at night at all. I literally would just lay awake and watch the sun come up. And then we'd go over here and we'd hike up 4,000 stairs and this and that. And after like the fourth day, we were in the Sacred Valley then. I said to the owner of the resort, I said, I just can't do another day. I just can't do it. I'm so tired. She goes, Paula, are you drinking the coca tea? Yeah, all the time. And she started laughing and she says, that's what cocaine's made out of.
It really is. And
You can't drink that much.
I've never had, I've never had the drug itself, but it helps when you're there because the altitude is actually, it's so high up that you
And
need.
we were told to drink it, but I guess I was over drinking, and I'm a bit of a lightweight. I'm just a lightweight with everything. So it was, but I literally was not sleeping at night.
So
It
now
was so fun.
tell me a little bit more about your journey with Reiki. And you said you started it with your puppy there. And so how did that
Yeah.
evolve for you?
Well, she was ill. She had a tumor. She wasn't doing well, could barely walk, and she'd had surgery. And I was talking to someone, and they said, you should learn Reiki, and I'd never heard of it. So I researched it and then learned Reiki, and I had her 2 more years. So I'm really big on Reiki for animals as well. And then over the years with being able to offer it to clients and teach it, and I had my first chicken. I have clients that bring their dogs, their cats. I had my first chicken 2
That's
weeks ago.
amazing. How is that different?
Isn't that adorable? It was wonderful. We gave Reiki to the chicken. After I gave Reiki to her, I gave Reiki to the chicken. It was great. But you can Reiki the wildlife. I have property where I grew up in a town called Centralia, Washington. And there's deer come in the yard. And it was the first couple of years I'd learned Reiki. And I used to go down and visit my aunt, and I was Reikiing out the kitchen window one day at this deer that was in the yard, and it literally laid down in the front yard and just laid there. I mean, so I just absolutely adore Reiki. And in my opinion, it's absolutely beyond words. And what it does, it's huge for our immune system. So what it does for our immune system, what it does for our intuition, our vibration, and all of that. And what is so exciting when you become a Reiki practitioner and you offer Reiki to others, that Reiki running through you, you get healed too. So it's like after a long day of Reiki, I just fly home. I feel so good. So to me, there can't be enough Reiki in the world. The more practitioners, more people receiving it. I'd love to see even more in the hospitals. It is growing more and more, which is really exciting to see. So I'm just nuts about Reiki.
Yeah, it sounds like you've really got an unfolding. Now, I know when I do my work, is more shamanic healing. And I guess it's more closely aligned to pranic healing because we're taking energy out first and then we're filling up. So when I do a healing, I actually, I have a good ally with the moon energy. I don't know. Whenever I channel the moon energy, people are like, what is Mama Kia? I'm like, that's the moon. They feel it. They're just like, what is that? And it's more than, like, say if I channel the earth energy, but I find that I guess I like to specify, I guess it's all just the same energy, but for me, I like the idea of it being the sun or the earth or the stars or the moon. I like that I like the subtleties of it. I like that. So how do you, what's it like for you when you channel energy?
I tend to bring in the archangels, call in the archangels. I do the Reiki a fairly standard Reiki session, but I pull in some of my shamanism things, like I'll open up the chakras, pull that any densities or blockages that need to be released, and then I fill that with Reiki. With the room, I always prepare my room before anyone comes, and the 4 directions and, all the animals, everything. So I kind of prepare my room in a shamanistic way. But with the Reiki, I pull some of my shaman and quantum healing. I use some of my quantum healing techniques. And so I kind of pull that into it and then do the Reiki, but I add the other stuff prior and a little bit during. I have a very sacred wand that my shaman gifted me. So I use that in my sessions as well. Those are fun. I have a drum that was gifted, so I use that a bit. So I just kind of pull all the different little things together, but my shamanism I use more in preparing. One of the funnest things for me with my training was learning to go into my higher self and have my higher self communicate with their higher self. That's one of the things that really intrigued me and I had a lot of fun with.
Yeah. So when you open the 4 directions, because I mean, a lot of people don't know about the 4 directions, which I think is so interesting, because I feel like on the one hand, we're always in sacred space, right? I mean, it's always there. But on the other hand, I think it's really, I found it personally to be a really powerful experience to intentionally invite the 4 directions, when I'm going to have a broadcast, for example, like we did before we started this show, or if I'm going to do a healing session, or if I'm praying, then I want to invite with intention, the 4 directions in. And I found a lot of people, when I learned that, it really sort of changed a lot of things for me, because before that, I was just sort of showing up and bumbling around in my life, but I didn't really know that I could ask for help. I didn't really realize that. And then when I found this path and they said, oh, well, you can invite the winds of the south and the winds of the west and the winds of the north and the winds of the east, and you can invite the earth, and I'm like, what? Yep. You can invite all of that in? And that was so surprising to me. So that it was a big deal for me. So how about you? I mean, what's your experience of that?
I am right there with you, energy sister. I really believe that, yes, they are with us, but to, invite them, speak it. They're waiting, they're waiting for that. They want that. They just like, the archangels, but all of that, the directions, to me, it's like, it's something I have to do at this point. It's come to be such a habit, but I'm right there with you. I think it just makes a huge difference. It really makes a difference in our room, our area. And then you just feel the energy in the room change. It's so fun.
Yeah. I teach it to people, and I have one client that's practicing it right now, and it's taking a little bit of time to feel or perceive a difference. And I said, just keep up with it. It'll expand, but I think you've got to be able to drop into some quiet mind. You've got to be able to quiet your mind long enough to feel with your other senses as you're inviting them in, and just notice what's different. For me, like the air changes. Something happens in my inner ear, or the air sort of shifts somehow. Like I'm flying, like when you fly and your ears have popping or whatever that is. I feel like it's sort of like that, the density changes.
Yes. Oh, yes. I love it. I love it. You are so on it. Oh, isn't it fun? Isn't it fun that we can learn these things and pull that into our lives? Now, I'm curious, do you do much with crystals?
I do actually. In my training, we learned how to use a crystal to extract energy from people that,
Yeah.
so I use a crystal to clear people's chakras out of hucha. The Carol shamans call it hucha, which is heavy energy.
Mhm.
And we don't really need to know what it
Yeah.
is, but I do, sometimes I get an awareness about what it is. But when I started, I got a lot of awarenesses about what it is. But since then, apparently it's not so important to really know what that is. So I just, take it out. But
Yeah.
lately, recently, my sweetheart and I went to Arkansas, and we actually hunted around for crystals. We went to this place that has just crystals lying on the ground. And, you know, well, we're on my show, so it's okay to talk like this because my clients my people expect this. They're like, scary hummingbird. But I'm convinced that crystals are intelligent beings. And I'm really convinced that they know who they're meant for, and that they could even just kind of wriggle themselves out of the ground and be ready for you. Like they could just be lying right there waiting for you. And everybody else will just miss it. They won't even see the crystal. They'll be walking there, could be a year, and they never even see that crystal. But you come along, it's for you. And all of a sudden it glints in the sun, and you see it. You see its point or something sticking out of the ground. That's your crystal. It was meant for you. And they know who they want to be with. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think you find one by accident.
Yeah. I love that. That is so right. And, as we make all these connections and raise our vibration and pull all that in, it's amazing all the synchronicities that start happening in our lives, from a crystal that we just find, a person that we meet, a connection. And isn't it just fascinating?
It really is. So tell me one of your stories of one of your synchronicities that helped you to validate your experience. Because, Spirit always sends you those when you get started or when you're on the way, just so that you can know, like, this is for real. This really is happening. I'm not crazy, So tell us one of those stories. So.
Yes. Oh, gosh. Well, it's been with, I guess where I'm at now with doing TV and radio and all that. I never looked to have that happen, but I was approached and pulled into that. And it's like all these different things are happening. People tell other people, I get connected with people. I ended up, I don't know if you saw on my website the Times Square picture. I ended up in a New York City magazine, put on their cover. And next thing I know, I'm being asked by a newswire if they can put me in Times Square. So I didn't ask any questions. My attitude was I'm grateful for whatever. It may be an 8 by 10 in a window somewhere. I sent them a picture. They had the article from the magazine, and I said, well, I'd love to see a picture of it when you're done. It's like 8 stories. I was literally in Times Square. You could see people's heads below for free. I mean, yeah. I mean, you just never know. I'm going to New York City next month to be at a huge gala at the Ritz-Carlton. I'm being given 2 awards. Wellness Coach of the Year 2017, and then they just voted for Top Female Professional 2018, and I'll get that as well. So all this is stuff I wasn't even looking for, and it just happens. So I really think that's the kind of things that open up. We get on a path, and I think I was, on the right path. I was kind of thinking along that line. I had just been asked to go to another network, and I was just kind of putting out there, what should I do? And then that's when the Times Square thing happened. And to me, that was a message from the angels, stay on that path. So
Yeah, that's amazing. So
it's just kind of one thing after the other. I can't believe it.
now, do you get direct Like, how do you interact with the angels? What does that, describe that process?
Uh, I'm kind of like you. I'm more of a feeler. I feel energies. I can. There's time. I get a lot of messages, numbers like 444. I see that all the time.
So when you
444.
see that, what does that mean to you?
That's a message from the angels. That's a good message. And I have it down with all the numbers. I've interviewed, and she became a good friend, Stephanie Barton. She's an amazing angel person. So, but I see 111, 222, and 444. They're all positive messages. But there's times when I feel different angels are around me. Yeah.
Now, okay, did you ever hear one in your head?
I don't think I've really heard it in my head except for with dreams. I don't dream that often, but when I do, it's like major, major.
Well, okay, I get the sense though that you're a little bit better at listening than I probably used to be. Are you a pretty good listener?
I am a pretty good listener. I try to be anyway.
I think maybe you didn't need a sledgehammer. I had this one experience before I started on this path, actually. It was years ago. Gosh, maybe 8, 9 years ago, something like that. And, or more, gosh, I don't know, 2007, 2008, something like that. And I had just recently moved out to Texas from California. And, my ex-husband and I just got a change of venue. You know, we thought, let's move out of Silicon Valley because it's so expensive. And we weren't seeing our kids. You know, our kids were in daycare, and we were just, this is not working out.
Mm-hmm.
And so my parents live in Texas, so we're like, let's go close to them. But I got here and I was left everything behind, right? So I was doing something totally different. And I was kind of bored, you know, and I was in between. I hadn't really fully adjusted to my new life yet. So I thought, you know what, I want to be like my dad. My dad had done a lot of hypnotherapy, past life regression stuff. And I was like, I want to know about that. So I started looking into it. And I hired this hypnotherapist to take me on a past life regression, except nothing happened. I was so bored. It was like I couldn't see anything. It was all dark, and I was really frustrated because I knew that this could work because it worked for him.
Mm-hmm.
So I was obsessing over it because in those days, my mind would just really just spin through thought tunnels, like mind mazes and thought tunnels. It would never shut up. You know, it was constantly going. So I was bicycling at the gym on the recumbent bike, and I was like, God, that person's really awful. They didn't do a good job, and it's just because they suck. And I'm going to like watch Oprah, and I'm going to find like the best hypnotherapist, past life regression person like ever. And I'm going to find them and find out who they are. And I'm going to research. And all of a sudden this voice, this male voice came in my head, and it boomed. It wasn't like quiet. It boomed. And it said, you have a life, live it. And I was like, oh, I mean, I was like,
wow.
Around, like, wow. Who is that? You know, like, what is that? And I thought, oh, I'm being watched, you know, like, okay, I'll drop it. And so I did. I dropped it. And right after that is when my whole life just went to hell in a handbasket. Like, I started living my life, and I went on the journey. I think now that I look back on it, I was avoiding the journey that I knew I signed up to go on in this life. I was avoiding it. I didn't want to do it. And so I thought, you know, I'll just skip over that and do this past life stuff, you know, and I quickly got schooled. No, you're going to go through the thing you agreed to do because you need it for your purpose. So go and screw up your life right now. So it's pretty much... that's what happened.
Yeah, it leads you to a different path. It really does. And that's kind of how we have to look at it. Okay, where are we going? All righty.
Well, you know, you really, I was talking with somebody earlier today that said that, you know, sometimes awakening, a lot of times, spiritual awakening requires that kind of burning down the house. You know, it requires you to just let go of everything that you thought you were so that you can let the real truth emerge
Yes.
from through
Yeah.
you, you know? We
Yeah.
think of it as bad. We think of it like, oh, I just changed this, or I had to leave my marriage. So, we have all this judgment for things that actually are necessary for spiritual growth.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I kind of see it as, there's this beautiful flow. It's like a river. We're connected to source, and this flow, this manifestation, everything, we're in this beautiful river. There we go. But life gives us challenges, and it's like waves on the river. And, we have a choice. We can just become that wave. We can let ourselves be hit against a rock, just be miserable and in pain, or we can stay in that warm, loving flow of the river, acknowledge the wave, make a decision about the wave with compassion, and let the wave move on. It makes our direction is what we choose, to stay calm and continue on our path, or become that wave and become angry and disoriented and close what could manifest. Because so many times, what's so fascinating, it's kind of like you have to be two-handed is kind of my personal thing. Is I want the one hand where I have my goals, I have what I work for, what I strive for, what I want to achieve. But on the other hand, that's wide open to source and manifestation, because things could happen that I had not even dreamed of. So keep that door open. Don't be so focused on what you want that you put a wall up to what may come through that you don't even realize could come through. So that's kind of my personal way of looking at things, is to kind of keep a balance that way.
I love that.
Oh, thank you.
You know what I love is that your energy is so calm compared to mine. Like, I'm like this like fire, I can't help it. I've got like big fire energy, and I love that you're so peaceful. It's just like, wow, it's such a relief. And I also so everything I do is kind of dramatic, I guess, because whatever, my being just needs that. I just need to be tussled with, it's just how I am. So the way I get around that, because I started realizing that I was actually blocking my path because I was so attached to how I think it's like I might get a vision from spirit and then get completely attached to that vision. Like, that has to happen now because that vision happened. And not realize that there's this thing called realignment. I mean, the universe is in flow. It's constantly moving, so things are constantly getting realigned. And so if I'm attached to that, I'm not open for the next thing. That was the realignment. Yes. So what I do now as a practice is every night I just sort of imagine that I'm taking off this cloak of who I think I am, all the projections, all the ideas, all the stories, like here's like just the role of me, all the stories I've made up about myself through the day. And I just take it off, and I just imagine it's just going into a sacred fire. It's just like gone. I relinquish it, I give it to the spirit of death. Mm-hmm. It's like, just take it, and because I know that what remains is who I really am. What remains is, it can't ever be taken away. The truth is going to stay.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I love that. I love it. It's just so fun and such a journey, every day. And it's just so exciting.
So how do you work with students? What is it what made you want to teach, I guess?
Well, because I loved Reiki so much, I wanted to share it. And even though I'm busy with my shows, I still teach. I will always teach. I can never stop. I love it so much. I think it's something, it's so fulfilling. It's just an honor. It's a responsibility. And to open that door for Reiki, for others. It really is beyond words. It's such an honor. I love it so much. And then, you hear from your students how it's changed their lives, and you can work with them as they go up the different levels. And I love it so much. It really is a passion. And doing that attunement, oh gosh, it's so fantastic. Yeah, I love it. I will teach Reiki forever. I adore it.
Well, so do you continue to study as well? Do you continue to advance your own understanding or skills?
I'm always researching and doing. I have actually taken Karuna and Holy Fire Reiki as well, but I don't teach that. I really am in love with Usui Reiki, so that's really what I focus on. Yeah.
So what is unique about Usui Reiki?
Well, he was absolutely fascinating. Just an amazing, amazing man, and he did a lot. There's a lot that he had a lot of compassion. He had great outlook on different things. His teachings. He knew several languages. He was very compassionate. He would give Reiki to the homeless, to disaster victims. Some say that you should never give Reiki for free. It disrespects it. And I personally believe Reiki, you couldn't honor it more, because Reiki is love and compassion. And it's not that you're not getting something for it. You may not get money, but you get the energy. You get what you get when you give a gift. I myself have gone out and given Reiki to homeless, as Usui did. I wanted to follow that. And, occasionally I've gifted Reiki in Reiki classes, like someone going, through cancer or something. I wanted to help them to be able to give themselves Reiki. So I really am more on Usui's view of things that way. But he was just amazing, and I just love, and I love the symbols that he taught. The symbols are so fantastic, and I will do it forever and teach it forever. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good.
So good. So what's your favorite thing about your radio shows and interviewing people and doing what you do there? What's your favorite thing about that?
Just connecting with so many people. And I mean, look, I've connected with you on here.
I know.
I'm interviewing you. We're going to have our fun show again. But so many fun people. Like yesterday, I pre-record. I've got shows booked months out. So I pre-record. And I interviewed an awesome gal, Dale Thomas, and she was Mrs. Tennessee. She's been on Dr. Phil. She's been on CMT, all these different shows. She hosted a TV show with Dick Clark. She was hilarious. We had so much fun. She's written a book, and she's just very inspirational and teaching positivity and, doing a lot for women especially. But, oh my gosh, I just meet so many amazing people. I've interviewed from everyday people to doctors, actors, actresses, musicians, naturopaths, my friend Stephanie, who's an angel expert, Reiki practitioners, shamans. I interviewed an awesome woman that travels the world. She's from Peru, a shaman woman. And I got to do it in person here in my office. She was doing some things in Seattle. So just such a big variety of people. And sometimes I cry. Sometimes I get teared up, when I hear people's stories and what they're doing. And just to be able to be a vessel, with the people we interview, and together be a positive, caring influence. I mean, it doesn't get better than that, does it? It just really is great.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, you know what I love about your energy is so different than a lot of the people that I interview, because you have this like calm reassurance energy.
Thank you.
You really do. And it makes me think about some of the teachings I've gotten from different teachers where, there really are just different roles. Like we have different roles in life. Like, we need all the different roles in order to make the whole puzzle happen.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, like, I feel like your role is along the lines of, being that space creator, like the space of wisdom to emerge, the space of witnessing, the space of sharing, and balancing, like a lot of balancing energy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm off the cuff, but that's what I'm feeling from you.
So,
And
thank you.
yeah. And I think I'm more like a fire starter. Like, I just want to like poke at things and like disrupt the
I'm
energy.
a big hugger. I just want to hug the world. When I first started doing radio over 3 years ago, I wanted to end the shows with love, hugs, blessings, but I thought, oh, people will think I'm a weirdo, And then after a few months, I thought, I have to be Paula. I have to be Paula. So that's what I say. It just, we have to be ourselves no matter what.
We do have to be ourselves no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I always end mine with kisses.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to try it right now? I always give these kind of kisses. Mwah.
Mwah.
To practice our kisses. And I love hugging people too. It's like my favorite. You know what I do with my energy? I want to see if you can feel it actually. I'm gonna do it. Just can you
your energy? I love your energy.
Let's see if I can. Okay, I'm gonna hold my energy in different ways, and I want to see if you in the audience can perceive it. Okay, so I'm gonna do one thing right now. Okay. Did you feel? Okay, so now I'm gonna do another one. That one gives me giggles.
Ooh. Well, it felt like the first was a heavier energy. The second was a lighter energy.
Okay, so the first one, I sunk my energy into the earth. And so, yeah, the heaviness, right? Because I'm pulling everything down into the earth. And the second one, I wrapped you up in a hug.
I love it. I love it.
Like a rosebud. Like I imagine that I'm wrapping my energy like a rosebud again around the person. Not tight or anything, but I find that I've experimented with because I have a huge energy body. And so I've experimented with like, how can I hold my energy in a way that is respectful of others and feels good to them.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Yeah. Things you become aware of as you start playing with your energy.
And isn't it amazing how our energy, even if we don't realize it or think about it, how it affects others around us? I mean, your energy, you can walk in a room and affect the energy in a room. We all have that. And that's beautiful. And that's powerful when you think about it.
That's one of the reasons why I actually learned about how to hold my energy or started experimenting with it, is because I noticed that everyone likes my energy when I'm feeling positive. But if there's been times, obviously, where I've been going through a struggle or something challenging and I've had a lot of heavy emotion, then it's so challenging for people to be around my energy because they feel it. Like they would actually, sensitive people friends of mine would just burst into tears. They could really feel how saturated it was. Mm-hmm. So I had to learn what to do with all that, because I don't want to deny my feelings, but at the same time, I don't want to, sort of like sponge it off on everybody around me, so I wanted to handle my energy with responsibility. So it's one of those things that you don't even think about until you start realizing that you're more than just this physical body, that there's a whole nother layer of reality you can be experimenting with, which is, this unseen you that emanates from your body.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of a cool thing. And there's lots of paths that explore that. The shamanism path is one of those, and it's the Reiki path is another. So it's very exciting. I think, it's good to encourage people to take that journey, if for nothing else, than to make life way more interesting.
Yes. Yes, it really does.
Yay. All right. Well, tell us a little bit about, do you have, how do you want people to connect with you? Do you have a free offer, or do you have something that they can engage with you in?
They can check me out at wellnessinspired.com, read about me, get information about my shows. And I guess I'll give a special offer if anybody in the area wants to come for a Reiki class, $50 off, because I was on this show. And if you're out of the area and want to come in, that's great too. I've had people from other countries come. And, so there you go. And then I also do practitioner mentoring. So if anyone wants to spend an hour with me just asking questions or getting feedback on whatever they want, their Reiki practice or anything, I would give you, I would give that to you. So
nice.
Half price. Yep.
Thank you. That's very generous.
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. Well, it's been such a pleasure having this interview with you and connecting at the energetic level and sharing stories of energy and connection and mystical shamanic experiences. So wonderful. Thank you for coming on. And I look forward to seeing you again. And here come their actual kisses, because you guys get double kisses on this episode. You're so lucky. You usually only get them at the end. You're spoiled. You're just totally spoiled. But here we go. Here come kisses.
Yay!
Yay! And we'll see you next week on Soul Nectar Show. Bye, guys.
Bye.